The silence in the command chamber stretched for long minutes. The High Council members looked at each other with growing horror as the truth sank in. They were not the advanced civilization they had believed themselves to be. They were the primitive species being studied by beings far beyond their understanding. High Counselor Zephyrin was the first to find her voice.
How long have you been watching us?
Since before your confederation existed, replied Juan. Humanity achieved faster-than-light travel over 2,000 years ago. We have been exploring this galaxy since your species was still fighting with stone tools. May activated another display. We watched the Vorthax develop their first spaceflight. We observed the Zeronians build their first cities. We studied the Khazari during their tribal warfare period. Every species in your confederation was cataloged and analyzed long before they knew other intelligent life existed. Counselor Dremtok, the massive Khazari warrior, stepped forward aggressively. If you have such power, why did you not conquer us? One smiled without humor. Because we wanted to see what kind of civilization you would become when left to develop naturally. Would you learn to cooperate with other species? Would you build something better than the endless wars that plague most galaxies? And what did you conclude? Asked Ambassador Crixtal. Bomb brought up files showing the Confederation's expansion over the past 5 centuries. You started well. The first few species to join your alliance did so as genuine equals. You shared technology freely and respected cultural differences. But something changed, continued Ree. As you grew larger and stronger, you became more controlling. You started dividing species into advanced and primitive categories. You began deciding which civilizations deserved to survive unchanged. Yoon displayed the genetic analysis of the Kepler collective plague. This was the turning point for us. When you deliberately murdered billions of innocent beings to steal their worlds, you proved that the Confederation had become exactly the kind of threat we were designed to stop. Designed to stop? Repeated Nexius. Juan nodded gravely. Humanity learned early in our expansion that galaxies tend to develop one dominant civilization that eventually destroys or enslaves all others. We spread ourselves across the stars to ensure that if such a threat emerged, we would be ready to contain it. Dal activated tactical displays showing human fleet positions throughout Confederation space. Every major Confederation world has human colonies nearby. Every important trade route passes through systems we control. Every communications hub can be monitored or disrupted at will. You have been planning to attack us for centuries, accused Counselor Volketh. No, Sun corrected. We have been planning to defend the galaxy from you. There is a difference. He brought up historical records from dozens of civilizations. The Altarians had developed beautiful art and philosophy before you relocated them to barren reservation worlds. The Kepler Collective was working on medical breakthroughs that could have helped millions before you murdered them, with engineered plagues. The Centauri Federation was building a peaceful trade network before you decided they were too independent and needed to be contained. May stepped forward. Every species you have absorbed into your confederation has lost something essential. You do not conquer worlds, you lobotomize civilizations. You turn unique cultures into standardized worker populations that serve your vision of galactic order. We bring peace and stability, protested Zephyrin. The galaxy was chaos before the Confederation. The galaxy was diverse, replied Ho. You brought uniformity. You decided that your way of thinking, your social structures, your technologies were the only correct ones. Every species that joins you becomes a pale copy of what they used to be. Juan gestured to the displays surrounding them. This is why we remained hidden. We needed to be absolutely certain what kind of civilization you had become before revealing ourselves. And what have you decided? Asked Zephyrin, though her voice suggested she already knew the answer. June spoke for the first time since the revelation began. You failed the test, High Counselor. The Confederation has become a galactic plague that destroys everything unique and beautiful about intelligent life. The chamber fell silent again. The weight of judgment pressed down on the assembled aliens like a physical force. What happens now? Whispered Ambassador Crixtal. Juan looked at each member of the High Council in turn. That depends on your choice. We are offering you one chance to prove that the Confederation can change. What do you mean? Asked Counselor Dremtok. Nari activated a new display showing reform proposals that were clearly the result of centuries of planning. First, you will immediately halt all expansion activities. No more first contact missions. No more evaluation of primitive species. No more decisions about which civilizations deserve to survive. Second, continued Yoon, you will begin genuine decolonization. Every species you have absorbed will be given the choice to regain their independence with full technological support to rebuild their original civilizations. Third, added Juan, you will dismantle your military conquest capabilities. Your fleets will be converted to purely defensive forces. Your bioweapons research will be terminated and all existing weapons destroyed. Fourth, stated Ree, you will submit to ongoing monitoring by human observers who will ensure compliance with these reforms. Ho concluded the list. And finally, you will formally recognize humanity as the Galactic Peacekeeping Authority with the right to intervene, if any. Civilization begins following the Confederation's path of forced homogenization. The High Council stared at the proposed reforms with growing alarm. They were being asked to dismantle everything the Confederation had built over 5 centuries. This would mean the end of our civilization, said Nexius. No, replied May. It would mean the beginning of a better one. You would retain your technology, your worlds, your culture. You would simply stop imposing them on others. And if we refuse? Asked Zephyrin. Juan's expression grew cold. Then we implement the contingency plans we have been developing for 400 years. Sun-activated displays showing the true scope of human presence throughout the galaxy. The red dots representing human colonies were everywhere, often multiple installations in single star systems. Every Confederation world is surrounded by human installations that you never detected, Sun explained. Every major population center has nanoscale surveillance networks that we introduced decades ago. Every critical system has hidden vulnerabilities that we can exploit. Dal brought up biological warfare data. The crops you are growing throughout your territory contain genetic modifications we introduced through our agricultural exchange programs. With a single signal, we can activate dormant organisms that will destroy your food supplies. Re-displayed medical intelligence. The treatments we shared with your doctors contain delivery systems for compounds that are harmless individually, but lethal when combined. Every major hospital in Confederation space now has the materials needed to eliminate specific populations. Yoon showed technological infiltration reports. The repairs and improvements we made to your equipment include monitoring and control systems. We can disable your communications, your transportation, your defensive systems whenever we choose. One concluded with military intelligence. We know the location and capabilities of every Confederation fleet. We have studied your tactics, your logistics, your command structures. Your military exists only because we have allowed it to exist. The High Council finally understood the true scope of their situation. They were not negotiating from a position of strength. They were prisoners being offered a choice between reform and extermination. How long do we have to decide? Asked Zephyrin. The decision must be made now, Juan replied. Before you leave this chamber. We cannot allow you to return to your fleets and prepare for war. Too many innocent lives would be lost in the conflict. Counselor Dremtalk's warrior instincts flared. You would hold us hostage? We would prevent a galactic war, corrected June. If you choose conflict, the fighting would continue until every Confederation world was either destroyed or surrendered. Billions would die. We prefer to avoid that outcome. The High Council huddled together, speaking in whispers. Some argued for defiance, others for surrender. All struggled with the reality that their mighty Confederation was utterly powerless against humanity's patient planning. Finally, Zephyrin stepped forward. You say you have been watching us for centuries. Did you never see anything good in what we built? Juan's expression softened slightly. We saw great potential. Your early cooperation between species was beautiful. Your scientific achievements were impressive. Your art and culture brought joy to billions. But power corrupted you, added May. As it corrupts most civilizations that grow too large and successful, you began to believe that your way was the only way. You forgot that diversity of thought and culture is what makes intelligence valuable. Can we truly change? Asked Zephyrin. After 5 centuries of thinking one way, can we learn to think differently? That, said Juan, is up to you to prove. We are not asking you to become human. We are asking you to become better versions of yourselves. Zephyrin looked at her fellow counselors one final time. She saw fear in their eyes, but also something else. The harmony of worlds descended from the sky like a golden mountain. This massive ship carried the High Council of the Confederation, come to formally welcome humanity into galactic civilization. Flags flew from its hull representing every member species. Ceremonial guards in bright uniforms prepared for the greatest celebration these humans had ever seen. High Counselor Zephyrin led the delegation. She was ancient even by Vorthak standards, having guided the Confederation through centuries of peaceful expansion. Behind her walked representatives from 47 different species, each eager to greet their newest galactic neighbors. "Today marks a glorious moment," Zephyrin announced as she stepped onto the landing platform. "Another primitive species joins our great community of worlds." Juan welcomed them with appropriate humility. "We are honored beyond words, High Counselor. Our people have dreamed of this day since our ancestors first looked up at the stars." The celebration lasted 3 days. Human children sang traditional songs while alien dignitaries applauded politely. Craftsmen demonstrated their simple techniques while Confederation experts took notes on potential improvements. Everything proceeded exactly as planned for a typical uplift ceremony. But on the 4th day, Nexius made a demand that changed everything. "High Counselor," he said during the morning briefing, "I must insist on a complete inspection of the underground burial chambers. My previous examination was incomplete." Zephyrin looked surprised. "Surely that is unnecessary. These humans have proven their peaceful nature." "Nevertheless," Nexius pressed, "the readings from those chambers concern me. For the safety of the Confederation, I must verify that no military technology exists on this world." Juan's face showed deep pain. "High Counselor, these are sacred places. We have already allowed one inspection. Must we disturb our ancestors again?" "I understand your feelings," Zephyrin said gently. "But Counselor Nexius raises valid security concerns. Surely your ancestors would understand the need for peace and safety." Juan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight that had not been there before. "Very well, but I must ask that only the High Council witness what lies below. Some knowledge carries heavy burdens." Something in Juan's tone made several aliens feel uneasy. High Counselor Zephyrin noticed the change but attributed it to religious concerns about disturbing the dead. "Of course," she agreed. "We will show proper respect." An hour later, the full High Council followed Juan into the tunnels beneath the settlement. Ambassador Krikstal and his diplomatic team came along, as did the senior members of the Ethics Committee. In total, 23 of the most important leaders in the galaxy descended into what they believed were primitive burial chambers. The first corridor looked exactly as it had during the previous inspection. Metal panels lined the walls, creating beautiful geometric patterns that honored the human dead. Soft lights provided illumination for the sacred spaces, but Juan did not stop at the areas Nexius had seen before. He led them deeper, through passages that branched and curved through the planet's crust. The metal panels grew more complex. The lights became brighter. The air itself seemed to hum with barely contained energy. "How far do these chambers extend?" asked Counselor Dremtok, a massive being from the warrior species called the Kozari. "Our ancestors built extensively," Juan replied. "They wanted to ensure their memory would endure." After 20 minutes of walking, they reached a vast circular chamber. The High Council stopped and stared in shock. The space was enormous, carved from solid rock with impossible precision. The walls were covered not with decorative panels but with active display screens showing star charts, technical specifications, and real-time tactical data. "What is this place?" whispered Zephyrin. Juan touched a control panel. The chamber filled with light, revealing its true purpose. This was not a burial chamber. It was a command center that dwarfed anything the Confederation had ever built. Workstations filled the floor space. Massive computers lined the walls. Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in local space. "This is the central command of the Human Colonial Defense Network," Juan said calmly. "And you are not in a burial chamber. You are standing in the most advanced military installation in this galaxy." Nari stepped out of the shadows, no longer wearing simple farmer's clothes. Her uniform bore insignia that the aliens did not recognize but which clearly indicated high military rank. "Welcome to humanity's true home, High Council. We apologize for the deception, but we needed to understand who you really were." More humans emerged from concealed positions. Jun Wan Dal Yun Ri, all of them dressed in military uniforms and carrying weapons that made Confederation technology look primitive. Their simple, friendly faces now showed the calm competence of trained soldiers. "Impossible," breathed Nexius. "You are a primitive agricultural society. You have no industry, no military, no advanced technology. Baum stepped forward, and his elderly appearance seemed to melt away. His true form was that of a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and the bearing of a senior intelligence officer. "We have all of those things, Counselor Nexius. We simply chose not to show them to you. We have been studying the Confederation for 400 years, learning everything about your species, your technology, and your true intentions." Zepharan found her voice. "Your ancestors' ship did not crash here. You came here deliberately." "Correct," Juan confirmed. "The ship you detected in orbit was one of thousands sent out during humanity's initial expansion period. We established hidden colonies throughout the galaxy to observe and analyze other intelligent species." "But why?" demanded Ambassador Crickstall. "Why hide from us?" "We come in peace." Shun activated a holographic display. "Do you? Let us review the Confederation's history of peaceful first contact." The display showed world after world, species after species. The pattern was always the same. The Confederation would arrive, assess the local population, and determine whether they were suitable for membership. Those who were accepted became junior partners, providing resources and labor while receiving protection and technology. Those who were rejected faced a different fate. The Altarians refused to join your Confederation. Ewan continued. They were declared a navigation hazard and relocated to reservation worlds. The Kepler Collective wanted to maintain their independence. They suffered a sudden plague that wiped out 90% of their population. The survivors were grateful for Confederation medical aid and joined willingly. "You are describing coincidences and natural disasters," protested Counselor Volketh. "Are we?" asked Juan. He activated another display showing Confederation military deployments over the past century. "Your fleets always arrive just before these natural disasters occur. Your medical ships are always ready with treatments for plagues that have never existed before." Ree stepped forward. "We have analyzed the bioweapons you used on the Kepler Collective. Very sophisticated work. The plague was designed to target their specific genetic markers, while leaving other species unharmed." The High Council stood in stunned silence. Their secret history was being laid bare by primitive humans, who should not have known any of these classified details. "How could you possibly know about our security operations?" asked Zephyr, and Dal smiled coldly. "Because we have been inside your systems for 2 centuries. Every communication you send, every order you give, every secret you think you are keeping. We monitor it all. The crop improvements I showed your agricultural experts were not family knowledge," Dal continued. "They were biological weapons designed to target your species' food supplies. The medical herbs Ree shared with your doctors contained compounds that would interact fatally with your metabolisms. The tools Yoon fixed for your engineers now contain monitoring devices that we can activate at will." May appeared, no longer dressed as a simple storyteller. Her uniform identified her as a strategic intelligence coordinator. "The stories I told your people were not legends," May said. "They were technical specifications for weapons that we developed long ago. Planet crackers, nanoplagues, mind seeds, all real. All currently deployed throughout your territory." Ho, the child who had amazed Dr. Corvin with his intelligence, was revealed to be a junior tactical analyst. His innocent questions about Confederation technology had been systematic intelligence gathering. "Even your own security procedures worked against you," Ho explained. "We studied how you process new species, how you make decisions, how you identify threats. We designed our entire deception to exploit your psychological blind spots." Sun activated the chamber's main display. It showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy with thousands of red dots scattered across Confederation space. "Each dot represents a human colony," Sun announced. "We have been watching you, learning from you, and preparing for this day. There are more human settlements in your territory than there are Confederation worlds." The High Council finally understood the magnitude of their situation. They were not encountering a primitive species ready for uplift. They were facing an advanced civilization that had been studying them like insects under a microscope. "What do you want from us?" asked Zephyr, and her voice barely a whisper. Juan's expression softened slightly. "That, High Counselor, depends entirely on your answer to a simple question." The Judgment's Wing arrived on a cold morning 6 months after first contact. This massive ship carried the Galactic Ethics Committee, led by the stern Zeronian named Nexius. His species valued rules and order above all else. They had never met a primitive culture they could not properly catalog and control. Nexius descended from his ship with a team of inspectors, scientists, and military advisors. His 4 eyes scanned the human settlement with clinical precision. Everything had to be measured, tested, and approved before these humans could join the Confederation. Governor Juan, Nexius said in his mechanical voice, "I am here to determine if your species is ready for galactic citizenship. This process requires complete transparency." Juan bowed respectfully. "Of course, Honorable Nexius. We have nothing to hide. Our lives are simple and open." "We shall see," Nexius replied. "I will need access to all areas of your settlement. My teams will conduct detailed scans of your technology, social structures, and defensive capabilities." "Defensive capabilities?" Juan asked with innocent confusion. "We have no military. We are peaceful farmers and craftsmen." Nexius's expression did not change. Every species has some form of protection. Even the most peaceful cultures develop ways to defend their young. The inspection began immediately. Ethics committee teams spread throughout the settlement with advanced scanning equipment. They measured everything from crop yields to population genetics. They interviewed colonists about their beliefs, their history, and their ambitions. Dr. Yimtal, the committee's technology specialist, examined the human workshops closely. She found tools that appeared primitive, but showed signs of incredibly advanced metallurgy. The metal composition was unlike anything in Confederation databases. "How do you forge such strong alloys?" Dr. Yimtal asked Dal, who had made many of the tools. "Old family secrets," Dal replied with a modest smile. "My grandfather's grandfather taught these methods to his children. We have used the same techniques for generations. But these molecular structures should require industrial furnaces and precise atmospheric control," Dr. Yimtal insisted. Dal shrugged. "We use what the land provides. This world has special minerals that make our metals strong." The explanation seemed reasonable, but Dr. Yimtal was troubled. These special minerals showed isotope signatures that suggested artificial creation rather than natural formation. Meanwhile, military advisor Theknor interviewed Juan about the planet's wildlife and geography. Juan knew every detail of the terrain within hundreds of kilometers. He could describe the exact location of every cave, every water source, every possible landing site. "You must travel far in your hunting," Theknor observed. "I enjoy exploring," Juan said cheerfully. "This world is beautiful. I like to see all of it." "Have you ever seen Confederation ships approach from orbit?" Theknor asked casually. Juan's expression remained innocent. "Sometimes we see lights in the sky." "Are those your ships?" "They move in interesting patterns." "What patterns?" Theknor pressed. "They seem to circle the planet in specific paths," Juan explained, "like they are watching for something. Very organized and careful." Theknor felt a chill. Those movement patterns were classified military patrol routes. How could this primitive hunter recognize advanced tactical formations? Social analyst Dr. Corvin spent time with the human children. She found them remarkably well educated for a supposedly primitive society. 10-year-old Ho could discuss quantum physics concepts that confused graduate students on Confederation worlds. "Where did you learn about subspace mechanics?" Dr. Corvin asked. "My teacher May tells us stories," Ho replied. "She knows many things about the old times." Dr. Corvin sought out May, the settlement storyteller. The woman seemed ordinary enough, middle-aged with friendly eyes and calloused hands. But her stories contained technical specifications that were frightening in their accuracy. "Tell me about the ancient weapons your ancestors possessed," Dr. Corvin requested. May's eyes grew distant. "They had terrible tools of war. Planet crackers that could split worlds in half, nanoplagues that could dissolve entire fleets, mind seeds that could turn enemies into allies without them knowing. These are just legends, of course," Dr. Corvin said hopefully. "Of course," May agreed, "though sometimes I wonder how such detailed stories could survive if they were completely imaginary." The most disturbing discoveries came from the deep scans of the settlement's underground areas. Chief Scanner Velrix detected vast metal structures extending far below the surface. These were not natural formations or simple storage caves. "Governor Juan," Nexius demanded, "what lies beneath your settlement?" Juan's face showed genuine sadness. "Those are our burial chambers, Honorable Nexius. Sacred places where we honor our ancestors. We prefer not to disturb their rest." "I must inspect these areas," Nexius stated flatly. "Cultural sensitivity cannot override security requirements." "I understand," Juan said reluctantly. "But please show respect for our dead." The next morning, Nexius led a team into the underground tunnels. What they found defied explanation. The burial chambers were clearly artificial spaces cut from solid rock with precision tools. The metal structures detected by their scans were elaborate tomb decorations, or so Juan explained. Our ancestors were skilled craftsmen, Juan said as they walked through corridors lined with metal panels. They created beautiful monuments to honor their deceased. But Scanner Velrix noticed that these decorations were actually sophisticated electronic systems in standby mode. The metal panels contained circuitry that could power a small city. The tomb chambers were the right size and shape to house massive weapon systems. Why are these burial decorations still drawing power? Velrix asked. Eternal flames, replied Bum, who had joined the tour as a historical guide. We believe the spirits of our ancestors deserve eternal light. The explanation was plausible, but Velrix's instruments detected energy levels far beyond what simple lighting would require. These systems were active and monitoring, not merely decorative. As the inspection continued, more anomalies emerged. Ree, the medical officer, demonstrated surgical techniques that required knowledge of alien anatomy she should not possess. When asked how she knew so much about non-human physiology, she claimed her ancestors had treated many different species. But your people have been isolated for 400 years, Dr. Corvin pointed out. The ship that brought us here carried many different crew members, Ree explained. Humans served alongside other species in those days. Our medical knowledge includes what we learned from our alien shipmates. Yoon continued to amaze the engineers with her ability to repair any technology, no matter how advanced or alien. She fixed a quantum scanner that had been broken for months, using nothing but simple tools and intuitive understanding. How did you know which crystal matrices to realign? Asked Chief Engineer Polden. The patterns were wrong, Yoon said simply. I could see where the energy was not flowing correctly. But quantum matrices are invisible to the naked eye, Polden protested. Yoon smiled. Perhaps my eyes see differently than yours. The most troubling incident occurred when Junior Officer Rixpo approached one of the geothermal vents that dotted the settlement. These openings were supposed to provide natural heating for the human buildings. But when Rixpo dropped his scanner near one of the vents, the device began receiving structured data transmissions. Before he could investigate further, June appeared beside him. Is something wrong? June asked in his calm, friendly voice. My scanner is picking up artificial signals, Rixpo said excitedly. There might be active technology down there. That is strange, June agreed. Perhaps the heat is affecting your equipment. These vents can interfere with electronic devices. As June spoke, Rixpo found his excitement fading. The scanner readings suddenly seemed less important. The signals were probably just random interference after all. You are right, Rixpo said slowly. I should recalibrate my equipment. Later, when Rixpo tried to remember why he had been concerned about the vents, the reasons seemed unimportant. Heat interference was a common problem with sensitive instruments. Despite all these anomalies, Nexius found himself reluctant to declare the humans a security threat. They were clearly primitive, whatever their ancestors might have known. Their current technology was basic. Their society was peaceful. Their eagerness to join the Confederation seemed genuine. Perhaps we are being too cautious, Nexius told his team during their final briefing. These humans show remarkable potential, but they are clearly not a military threat. Sir, Velrix objected. The underground structures are burial chambers with elaborate decorations. Nexius interrupted. We cannot condemn a species for honoring their dead. But the energy readings indicate active weapon systems, Velrix insisted. You are seeing phantoms, Nexius decided. These humans cook with fire and make tools with hammers. They are not hiding advanced military technology. As the ethics committee prepared to leave, Juan thanked them for their thorough inspection. We hope we have proven worthy of Confederation membership, Juan said humbly. Your people show great promise, Nexius replied. I will recommend immediate acceptance into the Confederation as junior members. 3 months passed quickly. The Vorthak outpost grew larger each week. Ambassador Crixtel arrived with a team of diplomats, scientists, and cultural experts. They came in a beautiful ship called the Golden Bridge, designed to impress new species with Confederation technology. The humans watched the ship land with wonder in their eyes. Children pointed at the sleek hull and whispered to each other. Adults gathered around to see the amazing vessel up close. "It is so beautiful," said Juan as he greeted the ambassador. "Our ancestors told stories of such ships, but we thought they were just dreams." Crickstal felt pleased. These humans appreciated superior technology when they saw it. That was a good sign for their future development. "Soon your people will travel among the stars too," Crickstal promised. "The Confederation believes in helping all species reach their potential." The cultural exchange began immediately. Fourth Act teachers started classes for human children. They taught basic mathematics, science, and galactic history. The human children learned quickly, sometimes too quickly. Dr. Nexius, who led the education program, noticed something strange. A child named Ho solved complex physics problems that should have taken weeks to understand. When asked how he knew the answers, Ho said his grandfather had taught him. "These humans have remarkable memories," Nexius told Crickstal. "They seem to remember everything their ancestors knew." Meanwhile, the humans continued to impress their guests in other ways. Dal introduced new farming techniques that doubled crop yields in just weeks. He claimed these methods came from old family knowledge passed down through generations. "How did your ancestors know so much about agriculture?" asked Dr. Yex, the Confederation's farming expert. "They came from a world with many different environments," Dal explained. "They had to learn to grow food anywhere." Dal's explanation seemed reasonable, but Dr. Yex was confused. The techniques Dal used required deep understanding of soil chemistry and plant genetics. Such knowledge usually took decades of scientific study to develop. Yun amazed the Confederation engineers. She could fix any broken machine just by looking at it for a few minutes. When they brought her a damaged communication device from their ship, she had it working perfectly within an hour. "How did you learn to do this?" asked Chief Engineer Zolkar. "My family has always been good with machines," Yun said simply. "My grandmother taught me when I was small." But Zolkar noticed that Yun understood principles that the Confederation had only discovered recently. Her repairs were not just functional but elegant, using methods that improved the original design. Grix, the young science officer, continued to collect disturbing data. His deep scans of the settlement revealed anomalies that made no sense. The underground geothermal vents showed organized structure rather than natural formation. The soil contained trace elements that suggested advanced manufacturing had occurred here for centuries. "Ambassador," Grix reported, "I believe these humans may have more technology than they are showing us." Crickstal dismissed his concerns. "Young Grix, you are seeing patterns where none exist. Look at these people. They cook over open fires. They make tools with hammers and anvils. They travel on foot or with simple animals. But the scans show a species that has adapted well to their circumstances," Crickstal interrupted. "Do not let suspicion cloud your judgment." The humans seemed eager to share their culture with their guests. May told more stories about the old days, describing weapons and machines in vivid detail. She spoke of energy shields that could stop any attack and weapons that could destroy entire fleets. "Your ancestors must have been quite warlike," commented Dr. Pex, the Confederation's military historian. "Oh no," May said with a gentle smile. "They only fought when they had to. They believed in peace, but they prepared for war." "A wise philosophy," agreed Dr. Pex, though something about May's words made him uncomfortable. 1. The colony's hunter became friends with the Confederation security team. He asked many questions about their weapons and defensive procedures. The aliens thought he was simply curious about their technology. "How do your ships defend themselves?" one asked during a hunting trip. "We have energy shields and particle weapons," replied Security Chief Colton. "Standard Confederation military equipment. How fast can your ships travel between stars?" One continued. "Our fastest ships can cross the galaxy in about 3 months, Colton said proudly. One nodded thoughtfully. "That must be very useful for moving armies quickly." "We prefer to avoid military action," Colton said. "But yes, rapid deployment is important for peacekeeping." These conversations seemed innocent. One was clearly impressed by Confederation technology and wanted to understand how such wonders worked. Ree, the medical officer, worked closely with the Confederation health team. She showed them local plants that could treat diseases and injuries. Some of these plants had properties that amazed the alien doctors. "This herb you call green leaf could revolutionize pain treatment," said Dr. Velnan. "How did you discover its properties?" "Our ancestors tested many plants," Ree explained. They kept detailed records of what worked and what did not. But Dr. Vellnan wondered how primitive humans could have conducted such sophisticated medical research. The active compounds in these plants required precise extraction and preparation methods. As weeks passed, the Confederation team grew more impressed with human potential. These people learned quickly, worked hard, and showed remarkable innovation. They would make excellent members of the galactic community. Ambassador Krickstall began preparing his report to the High Council. He would recommend immediate acceptance of humanity into the Confederation. These humans could be trained as technicians, farmers, and workers throughout Confederation space. But some details continued to bother the more observant aliens. The human settlement was laid out like a military base with clear fields of fire and defensive positions. The workshops contained tools that showed signs of advanced metallurgy. The children played games that resembled tactical exercises. When Grix mentioned these observations to his colleagues, they laughed at his paranoia. "You have been in space too long," joked Engineer Zolkar. "These are peaceful farmers, not soldiers." One evening, a junior technician named Rixpo was checking equipment near the settlement edge. He slipped on loose rocks and fell into what the humans called a geothermal vent. Instead of hot water, he found himself in a smooth metal shaft with artificial lighting. Before he could explore further, June appeared and helped him climb out. "Are you hurt?" June asked with concern. "You hit your head quite hard." Rixpo felt confused. Had he hit his head? The fall was not that far, but his memory seemed fuzzy. June's voice was so calm and reassuring. "I think I am fine," Rixpo said slowly. "Just a little dizzy." "Head injuries can be serious," June said. "You should see our medical officer. She can check if you have a concussion." Later, when Rixpo tried to remember what he had seen in the shaft, the memory seemed unclear. Had there been lights? The more he thought about it, the less certain he became. Perhaps he had just been confused after the fall. The cultural exchange continued smoothly. The humans remained friendly and eager to learn. They asked intelligent questions and showed great appreciation for Confederation technology and knowledge. Ambassador Krickstall felt proud of this mission. Soon these humans would join the galactic community as junior partners. They would benefit from Confederation protection and guidance. In return, they would provide labor and resources to help build a better galaxy. None of the aliens noticed the small sensors hidden throughout their outpost. None of them realized that their communications were being monitored and decoded. None of them saw the detailed files the humans were building on every aspect of Confederation technology and military capability. In the underground complex that the aliens did not know existed, human technicians analyzed intercepted data transmissions. They mapped Confederation fleet positions, defensive systems, and communication networks. They studied alien psychology and social structures. "How much longer do we maintain the deception?" asked Nari during a late-night strategy meeting. "Until we have everything we need," replied Juan. "The High Council meets next month to discuss our membership. That will bring more ships, more officials, more information." "The junior technician who fell into Shaft 7 was suspicious," reported June. "I used standard memory adjustment techniques, but we should be more careful." "Agreed," said Juan. "We cannot afford discovery yet. There is still too much we do not know about their full capabilities." The masquerade would continue. The aliens would continue to see primitive humans learning eagerly from their advanced civilization. They would never suspect that they were the ones being studied, analyzed, and quietly assessed for weaknesses. The real test would come soon enough. The Stellar Harmony moved slowly through the dark space near Kepler 442. Captain Veltar checked his screens again. The energy readings made no sense. This system was supposed to be empty and dangerous. The Vorthak record said so. They had marked it as a dead zone 300 years ago. "Captain," called his science officer Grix from across the bridge, "I am getting life signs from the second planet." Veltar walked over to look at the data. The planet showed green forests and blue oceans. Cities dotted the surface, but they looked small and simple. Smoke rose from what appeared to be cooking fires. No energy weapons. No shields. No space traffic. How is this possible? Veltar asked. The gravitational storm should have torn apart anything in this system. Grix tapped his screen. The storm stopped about 400 years ago, sir. Right around the time these settlements appeared. Veltar made his decision. Send a message to the planet. Standard first contact protocol. The response came quickly. A human face appeared on their screen. The being had dark hair and calm eyes. He wore simple clothes that looked handmade. "Welcome to our world," the human said in perfect galactic standard. "I am Juan, the governor of this colony. We have been waiting to meet others from the stars." Veltar felt relief. Another peaceful species. The Confederation always welcomed new members, especially ones that seemed friendly and humble. "Governor Juan," Veltar replied. "I am Captain Veltar of the Vorthak Confederation. We are explorers and peacekeepers. May we visit your world?" "Of course," Juan said with a warm smile. "We would be honored to host you." 2 hours later, Veltar and a small team landed in the main settlement. The buildings were made of wood and stone. Gardens grew between the houses. Children played in the streets while adults worked in fields nearby. Everything looked peaceful and simple. Juan met them at the landing site. He was tall for a human with graying hair and strong hands. Behind him stood a woman with bright eyes and oil-stained fingers. "This is Nari, our chief engineer," Juan said. "She keeps our machines running." Nari bowed politely. "Our technology is basic, but it serves our needs. We grow our food, build our homes, and live quiet lives." Veltar and his team followed Juan through the settlement. They saw workshops where humans made tools by hand. They watched farmers tend to strange plants they had never seen before. They met a medical officer named Ree who used herbs and simple instruments to treat the sick. "How long have your people been here?" asked Ambassador Crixtel, who had joined the landing party. An elderly man stepped forward. His name was Baum, and he served as the colony's historian. His eyes were sharp despite his age. "Our ancestors came here 400 years ago," Baum explained. "Their ship was damaged and crashed. Most of the advanced technology was lost. We have survived by working hard and learning to live with the land." The aliens felt sorry for these humans. To be cut off from the galaxy for so long must have been terrible. The Confederation could help them. They could share technology and knowledge. They could bring these humans into the wider galactic community. As they toured the settlement, Veltar noticed several young humans watching them carefully. One was a quiet young man named June who asked many questions. "How many worlds does your Confederation control?" June asked. "We do not control worlds," Crixtel replied. "We guide them. We help primitive species develop and grow. How do you defend these worlds from enemies?" June continued. "We have a strong military," Veltar said. "But we only use it to keep peace." June nodded thoughtfully. "That must require many ships and soldiers." The question seemed innocent enough. This young human was simply curious about the galaxy beyond his world. They met a farmer named Sun who grew the strangest crops. The plants looked nothing like anything in the Confederation's botanical databases. When asked about them, Sun smiled. "We had to adapt," he said. "Our ancestors brought seeds from Earth. But this world's soil is different. We learned to change the plants to grow here." "That is remarkable," said Grix. "Genetic modification usually requires advanced laboratories." "We learned through trial and error," Sun replied. "It took many generations." As the day continued, the aliens met more colonists. There was Dal, who managed the agricultural systems. His fields produced more food than should be possible on this type of soil. There was Yoon, a young woman who repaired broken tools with amazing skill. There was Juan, a hunter who knew every animal and plant on the planet. The humans seemed eager to learn about the galaxy. They asked about other species, about trade routes, about the Confederation's structure. They wanted to know how the government worked, how decisions were made, how conflicts were resolved. "We have been alone for so long," Juan explained. "We dream of rejoining the galactic community." That evening, the aliens were invited to share a meal with the colonists. The food was simple but delicious. The humans told stories of their ancestors and their struggles to survive. They sang songs about Earth, the world their great-grandparents had left behind. A young woman named May told stories that amazed the aliens. She spoke of fantastic machines and terrible weapons that the ancestors had possessed. She described ships that could cross the galaxy in days and tools that could reshape matter itself. "These are just old legends," May said when the aliens looked surprised. "Stories passed down through families. We do not know if they are true." But the stories contained technical details that seemed too specific to be mere fantasy. Grix made notes, planning to research these claims later. As the night ended, Veltar felt confident about these humans. They were friendly, humble, and eager to learn. They would make excellent junior members of the Confederation. They could be trained to operate basic machinery, perhaps even serve as laborers on construction projects. We would like to establish a permanent outpost here, Veltar told Juan, to help your people prepare for membership in the Confederation. Juan's face lit up with joy. We would be honored, Captain. Our people have much to learn. As the aliens returned to their ship that night, they began planning. First, they would need to assess the humans' capabilities more thoroughly. Then they would begin the slow process of uplifting this primitive but promising species. None of them noticed the small devices hidden throughout the settlement. None of them saw the underground tunnels that connected every building. None of them realized that every word they had spoken had been recorded and analyzed. In his simple wooden house, Juan met with his senior staff. They reviewed the data their hidden sensors had collected. Ship specifications, weapon capabilities, defensive systems, communication protocols. How many more ships are coming? Asked Nari. Ambassador Krixtal mentioned a diplomatic vessel next month, replied June. Then a full cultural exchange team. Juan nodded. We continue as planned. Let them see what they expect to see. The masquerade had begun.